Sudden disappearances are typically the domain of law enforcement, but sometimes these agencies find themselves up against a wall due to limited funding, resources, and, crucially, time. It's in these situations that ordinary citizens sometimes step up, driven by a powerful desire to bring closure to a grieving family or to ensure that justice is served as it should be. So, join us for today's episode as we delve into 3 missing persons cases that were ultimately solved not by seasoned detectives, but by complete strangers. Euan Cultard. 19-year-old Euan Cultard was a law student at Durham University in Durham, England. His life took a tragic turn when he vanished after a night out on January 14, 2015. Euan had been enjoying the evening with friends at a local nightclub called Love Shack. However, after leaving to head home, he simply disappeared, ceasing all communication and online activity. When he was last seen, Euan was wearing a distinctive outfit, black skinny jeans, a beige button-down shirt, and a denim jacket. In the days that followed his disappearance, the community rallied, with over 100 volunteers joining the search efforts. Euan was well regarded on campus. One friend described him as lovely, while another pointed out his active role as the social secretary for the university's cricket team, highlighting his willingness to help anyone in need. Following his disappearance, Inspector Dave Coxon of the Durham Police addressed the media, stating that Euan had been in high spirits that night. He also noted that Euan's mobile phone had powered down just 5 minutes after midnight. Investigators reviewed CCTV footage, which revealed that he had crossed Framwell Gate Bridge just 8 minutes earlier, after separating from his group of friends. Coxon further explained that volunteers thoroughly searched the river wear, the body of water beneath the bridge, but found nothing significant. This prompted authorities to shift their focus back to the surrounding land. About a week after Euan went missing, the large-scale search was scaled back. Although investigators expressed their continued hope of finding the 19-year-old alive, another week passed without any breakthroughs. Then, a crucial development emerged thanks to the dedication of a diver from Scotland, Trevor Bankhead, who drove an impressive 170 miles to volunteer his expertise. Trevor told the press that his primary motivation was to bring closure to Euan's family and friends. He offered to conduct a comprehensive search of the river wear. It's worth noting that in the 14 months leading up to Euan's disappearance, 2 other students had tragically fallen into the river and died in separate incidents. This led many, including the investigators, to consider the possibility that Euan had suffered a similar fate. Trevor, a commercial shellfish diver with extensive experience, became involved in the case after a conversation with his brother Gary, a firefighter who had participated in the initial search for the missing teenager. Trevor, who had scuba dived in the river more than 500 times, was spurred to action when he learned that the police had deemed it too dangerous to search the water for Euan's body. According to reports, Trevor located the body relatively quickly, just yards from where Euan had last been seen on CCTV footage on the night he disappeared. The diver stated that he immediately knew it was Euan, and he poignantly told him, "I've come to take you home, my friend." Euan's body was officially identified on January 27th, the day after it was recovered from the water. In a statement, his mother, father, and sister expressed their profound gratitude. "We will be eternally grateful to the diver who located him and who, with the support of the emergency services, brought him home to us." A candlelit vigil was held in Euan's memory later that week. Months later, in May of 2015, coroner Andrew Tweddle ruled that the 19-year-old's death was accidental. Toxicology reports revealed that Euan had a blood alcohol level of 167 milligrams per 100 milliliters of blood, more than twice the legal limit for driving. Tweddle concluded that for a typical social drinker, this level of intoxication would result in obvious drunkenness, unsteadiness, slowed reflexes, and impaired judgment. Euan's family had previously stated, "Losing Euan in the way we have has left us totally bereft, and our lives will never be the same again." Sarah and Phillip Garing. In February 2004, the body of 44-year-old Manuel Garing was discovered inside his cell at the Merrimack County Jail in New Hampshire. He had taken his own life by strangulation. Garing was incarcerated for the murder of his two children, 14-year-old Sarah and 11-year-old Phillip, who had mysteriously disappeared on July 4, 2003. Eyewitnesses had spotted the siblings at a fireworks display in Concord, New Hampshire. After the show, they were seen getting into the family van with their father. According to investigators, Garing fatally shot his children shortly after they left the fireworks display. He then drove to western Pennsylvania, where he purchased a shovel before embarking on a cross-country road trip. At some point during his travels, he stopped to bury his children. He later confessed to authorities that he had placed a makeshift cross constructed from sticks and duct tape on each child's chest before burying them. A week after the murders, Garing was apprehended in Gilroy, California. While in custody, he confessed to the killings, stating that he had buried the children along Interstate 80, but he was unable to pinpoint the exact state where their remains were located. He vaguely indicated that it might have been Ohio or Indiana. In the months that followed, law enforcement agencies launched extensive searches for the bodies, even enlisting Garing's participation in the hope that it would jog his memory. However, their efforts proved fruitless, and the children's remains remained unfound. Forensic analysis of the shovel and family vehicle suggested that the burial site was likely in northeastern Ohio, based on the soil and pollen samples. However, the potential search area remained too vast to be effectively covered in its entirety. At the time of the murders, Garing was embroiled in a bitter custody dispute with the children's mother, Teresa Knight, his ex-wife. Despite his confession, Garing pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder charges. His lawyer argued that her client had suffered from a deep and undiagnosed major depression for most of his life. She asserted that this illness had clouded his judgment and driven him to commit unspeakable acts. She further added that his depression had played a significant role in his decision to end his own life. Garing's trial had been scheduled to begin in September 2004. Frustratingly, Garing's death not only denied the family justice, it also made it significantly more difficult for investigators to locate the bodies of Sarah and Phillip. In the months and years that followed, numerous attempts were made to find the children's remains, but each search yielded no results. Stephanie Dietrich, a complete stranger to the Garing family, was deeply moved by the trauma that Teresa Knight had endured. Upon learning of her plight, she became determined to help her find closure. In 2005, Stephanie was working as a cashier at a grocery store in Akron, Ohio, when she discovered that Teresa had already searched over 650 miles of Midwestern highway in her desperate search for her children. Stephanie decided to lend a hand. She later recalled that it was the mother's heartfelt plea that motivated her to act. For months, Stephanie dedicated herself almost entirely to searching for the bodies of Sarah and Phillip. She equipped her car with essential tools, including a shovel, flashlight, a pickaxe, and sturdy boots. Accompanied by her loyal dog, Rico, she meticulously scoured parts of northeastern Ohio that matched the description of the burial site provided by the FBI. For 6 long months, her efforts were met with disappointment. But then, on December 1, 2005, a breakthrough finally came. Stephanie was searching an area near Hudson, Ohio, when her dog alerted her to a specific spot by lying down and refusing to move. When Rico finally moved aside, Stephanie began to dig. She soon unearthed a makeshift cross. She recalled, "As soon as I picked up that cross, I was done digging. I knew what I had found." She immediately contacted the authorities, who arrived at the scene and unearthed 2 shallow graves containing the remains of Sarah and Phillip Garing. The children were wrapped in black garbage bags, each adorned with a cross made from sticks and duct tape, just as their father had described. Their identities were confirmed through dental records, and Teresa Knight was promptly notified of the discovery. Sarah had been shot 3 times in the head, while Phillip had been shot 4 times. once in the head, once in the neck, and once in each arm. Teresa was understandably overwhelmed by the news that her children had been found. She noted that she had come incredibly close to finding them herself, having driven within a mile of the site the previous summer during her own desperate search. She told the New York Times, "I don't think I've really had my real reaction yet. Overall, there's a sense of release. It's almost like a ball and chain that we had to carry with us. That was part of our life, and we didn't know." Stephanie, who is a mother to a son and daughter herself, told the press that she had never undertaken anything like this before. She spent weeks poring over transcripts of Garing's confessions to the police, meticulously studying his descriptions of the area where he had buried the children. She even gave away her work hours to her colleagues because she found it impossible to focus on anything else. Every few days, she would leave her home and embark on her search for answers. She visited between 6 and 7 areas repeatedly, carefully looking for any clues. She noted that she consciously avoided reaching out to Teresa, explaining, "I didn't want to disappoint her." In recognition of her extraordinary efforts, Stephanie was presented with a check, a plaque, and a letter of gratitude by the FBI at a ceremony held at their Boston office. Meanwhile, Rico was honored with a special FBI K-9 unit collar. Following the memorial service for her children, Teresa stated, "People often say that we can now find closure. Well, there really isn't closure when you're dealing with the senseless murder of your children." However, she added, "Finding their bodies and bringing them home has allowed us to have a more acceptable ending to this part of the journey." Melanie Uribe. 31-year-old Melanie Uribe was working as a nurse in Burbank, California, at the time of her disappearance. As a divorced mother, she was known for being a dependable and punctual employee. This is why her colleagues immediately grew concerned when she failed to show up for her shift on the night of December 15th, 1980. When they were unable to reach her at her home telephone number, her employer promptly notified the police. The following morning, Melanie's pickup truck was discovered. It had been deliberately set on fire and left as a burned-out wreck on the side of the road, with her nurse's uniform found nearby. Witnesses soon came forward, reporting that they had seen 2 men forcibly entering the same pickup truck while it was stopped at a red light. This witness sighting had occurred on the very night that Melanie was scheduled to work. She had been on her way when she was attacked. Meanwhile, 32-year-old Ida Smith learned of Melanie's disappearance from news reports just a few days later. Ida worked as a shipping clerk at the Lockheed Aerospace plant in Burbank. The story resonated deeply with her, as it was a local tragedy, and it was particularly disturbing because it triggered strange and unsettling visions that she had never experienced before. Despite having no prior knowledge of the case, Ida was struck by a sudden thought when she learned that the police were searching various properties in an effort to locate Melanie. "She's not in a house," she thought. Ida described how this thought was followed by a vivid image. "It was as if I saw a picture. I saw a canyon area. I saw a road. I saw it curving. I saw a dirt path. I saw shrubbery, and I saw white through the shrubbery. I could not clearly see what the white was, but it was something distinctively white." She pondered the possibility that these visions were leading her to Melanie's location, speculating that the white she saw might be her nurse's uniform. Ida didn't know the name of the location she had envisioned, but she felt strongly that it was connected to Melanie, as if she was being shown the 31-year-old's whereabouts. She subsequently decided to contact the police, later explaining, "I couldn't just let it go because I kept wondering if this person needed help, and if their life depended on that help, it would be very wrong of me not to do something." Although Detective Lee Ryan wasn't necessarily a believer in psychics or the paranormal, he found Ida to be credible, noting that she had approached him voluntarily and held a secure position at Lockheed, requiring top-level security clearance. Ida pinpointed an area on a map where she believed Melanie's body would be found, a remote part of the San Fernando Valley called Lopez Canyon. However, she left her meeting with the police feeling as though she hadn't been taken seriously. Driven by an overwhelming urge to find Melanie as quickly as possible, she went to the canyon herself. Accompanied by a few family members, she began searching the area that same day. As she got closer to the top of the canyon, she described feeling Melanie's presence growing stronger. Soon, she spotted fresh tire tracks. Following the tracks, Ida stopped when her daughter noticed something bright in the bushes: white nursing shoes. Ida left her vehicle and discovered Melanie's body. The scene matched her earlier visions precisely. Melanie was positively identified shortly thereafter, and her autopsy revealed that she had suffered a violent death. She had been robbed, stripped, raped, and beaten to death. Her official cause of death was blunt force trauma. On the same day that the body was discovered, Ida was called back to the police station, where she was questioned by two detectives she had not previously met. The detectives expressed their uncertainty about how she had been able to find the body. As a result, she was viewed with suspicion. Several officers believed that she knew more than she was revealing and that she might have overheard information or learned about the location of Melanie's body through other means, and that the visions were a fabrication to avoid legal repercussions. Detective Lee Ryan later recalled that the investigating officers, lacking any other leads or clues, felt they had no choice but to presume that she was involved in the crime, either before or after its commission. Although Ida passed 2 polygraph tests, which were considered significant evidence in 1980, investigators refused to release her. Instead, she was held in jail for several days and falsely told that she had failed the polygraphs. She was even charged with murder. However, a short time later, a police informant came forward, stating that he had heard one of Melanie's killers bragging about the murder in his neighborhood. The man was arrested and confessed, providing the names of his accomplices. Ita was released from jail, and all charges against her were dropped on December 21st. 20-year-old Lewis Carnell Morgan, 17-year-old Norman Willis, and 21-year-old Spencer Nelson were all apprehended by the police for their roles in Melanie's rape and murder. The men admitted that they had jumped into her truck, driven her to the canyon, and then robbed, raped, and brutally beaten her to death while she pleaded for her life. The final, fatal blow was delivered by one of the men, who used a large rock as a weapon. The 3 killers were subsequently convicted and imprisoned for Melanie's murder. Years later, Ida Smith sued the LA police for falsely arresting her as the suspected killer. Her attorney argued that it was the ultimate nightmare for a civic-minded person. She sought unspecified damages for the humiliating experience, which included a strip search. A judge eventually ruled in her favor, stating that the police had insufficient evidence to connect Ida to the killing or to justify her imprisonment. To this day, how Ida Smith knew the location of the murder victim's body remains a mystery. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own thoughts and reactions. And remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.